ledger calendar. It's a very small concept, but I mean, we will discuss it deep because you might face interview question in this ledger calendars. There are quite few interview questions that you can face and you might also get support issues in this ledger calendars page. Let me know if you have any doubts until the fiscal calendars. The ledger calendar is used to control the period status and the access of users for different modules. So this is just a theoretical line. So whenever somebody asks you what does a ledger calendar do, you can explain it like this. It's used to control the period status and the access for users for different modules. So give me a second. Let me connect my charger. So if you understood the definition, actually I'll show you it in practical how it works and how it is designed to work. So it's that you will understand it properly. Actually, ledger calendar will be activated for a fiscal calendar that you have created only when you link that particular fiscal calendar to a legal entity. So in our example, we have created a MRF calendar, but until now we did not link it to any legal entity, right? So we could not find we could not find ledger calendar for this fiscal calendar that we have created. Instead, I'll use another calendar which is being used by other legal entities or linked to other legal entities in this organization to demonstrate to the ledger calendar and how it works. Okay, so it's the navigation for ledger calendar. It's in general ledger. Under calendars, you have this option called as ledger calendars. Write down the navigation, general ledger, calendars and ledger calendars. So if I click on ledger calendars, it shows me some active calendars. I can see the calendars here. So, but I can see my MRF calendar, but I can't see, I can see the details, but I can't see all these things here because I did not link it to any legal entity yet. So I don't see the other statuses of the periods here in this page. So whenever you link it to a legal entity, you will see the list of legal entities to which this calendar is linked to. For now, we did not link this MRF calendar to any calendar, right? So what I'll do is I'll choose another calendar which was which was created and linked previously for other legal entities. I'll go for one calendar named as shared actually. Let me see, not shared. Here I think uh, fiscal. Yeah, this is the calendar, fiscal calendar I have. The name of the calendar is fiscal actually. So in this I have year number 2021. It's usually year number 2021, which is having opening periods as well as 12 operating periods as well as the closing period. So the same way, I'll just duplicate this tab to show you it in the fiscal calendars page, how it is designed and all. So here in general ledger, I'll go for fiscal calendars. The same way we have created MRF calendar. Previously, I have created this calendar called as fiscal calendar. So sometimes it is by default given as calendar for all the default entities that they give in this environment. So here I have multiple years starting from 2014 to 2022 I have. So let me go for 2021 here that was created. So you see a normal operating period and 12 normal opening period and 12 operating periods and one closing period. So same general monthly pattern for a calendar. So since this calendar is linked to multiple legal entities, I am using this for demonstration of ledger calendars. So in ledger calendars, I can see all the legal entity codes here. You see USMF, GLMF, GBSI, GLCO, DEMF, USRT. So all these are the legal entities that are using same calendar, single calendar. These legal entities all are using single calendar. Okay. So What happens is in this particular page, as I told you in ledger calendar, it is used to control the period status and the access of users for different modules, as I told you. If if we go in here, you can see this. All the normally from the fiscal calendar, you see periods here, right? So all of them will be shifted onto the other side. So you see opening period here, period 1, 2, 3, 4, and like 12 and closing here. So if I go for January period here, from 1st of January to 31st of January, I can see the legal entity codes here, and I can see the status called as entity codes here. So here I see the option called as period status. So period status, if I drop it down, I can see on hold, open or permanently closed. So what does this indicate? Or this on hold or open or permanently closed means? It means like if it is an open status, if this period from starting from January 1st to 31st of January, users are allowed to post transactions within this period, or it is open for posting transactions. This open status indicates open for posting transactions. If you keep it on hold, means you kept it on hold or suspended this period, or you kept it on hold for such that the users will not post any further transactions in that period. If you keep it on hold, you can temporarily keep it on hold for some time, because you might have some accounting errors that you have to reconcile or to check properly before you post any new transaction further. So for time being, you can keep it on hold such that users will not post any transactions, and later you can again open this period. Once you keep on hold again, you can change the status to on hold, again you can change it to open. So again later they can post the transactions if there are any. Usually what happens is month by month their business will run, right? So every month they will do reconciliations and month end closure process. So once after every month is reconciled properly and understood that there is nothing more to post in that previous month. Suppose January is crossed and they are in February, they will keep January period on hold such that users will not make any changes in the previous month's accounting. So it's already done and the reports would have been generated. So they don't want to make any alterations or make any changes. So they'll generally keep the period on hold. The January period will be kept on hold. If at all there is a need that they have to post any transaction or correct anything, they'll come back again and change the period status from on hold to open. Okay, so this is how it works. This open, on hold, and these two. So there is another status called as permanently closed. So you should do not do this anytime. If you keep a period on permanently closed status, you cannot reopen it once again. So it's permanently closed forever. You can't post any more transactions in that particular period. So generally they don't do it in business. They don't keep it permanently closed. Sometimes they will do once after complete year business is done and you have audit, or your audits are done and your accounts have been published and everything is fair, then they will permanently close that period such that there is nothing else to do in that period, right? So at that time only, or at year end, after year end closure process, if everything is clear and fair, then they will permanently close each and every period. Normally period 1, period 2, period 3, one by one they'll close all the periods. So this is how this period statuses work: open, on hold, or permanently closed, in order to regulate the posting of transactions in these periods. Understood? Any confusion in this three? In the note statuses, such that in interview they will ask, do we have anything concept called as period status, or what kind of period statuses we have? So what happens when we keep a period on hold? What is it? It will guide to where it will guide to, or what roles are done in ledger calendar. They might ask multiple questions. Okay, if you have all these three periods and what are these period statuses indicate in mind, you can answer it properly. Okay, so this period 1, which is from 1st of January to 31st of January, since the same calendar is assigned to multiple legal entities, I can see this period available for all the legal entities. USMF is a legal entity, GLMF is a legal entity, GBSI is a legal entity. In the same manner, we have multiple legal entities. Suppose if I want to change the period status for these three legal entities at a time, so I want to keep on hold for these three legal entities. Click on once I click on mark, I can change the period status here for these three at a time. that since you this calendar is assigned to multiple legal entities, and if you want to change the period status for multiple legal entities at a time, suppose if you want to change this for all these three uh, legal entities at a time, you can select these three legal entities here on the from the selection button on the left hand side, and here you have this option called as update period status. So if you click on update period status, you can see on hold. I mean, you can update period status at a time. So on hold or open or anything. If I say on hold and click on update, see for these three legal entities, the period status changed to on hold at a time. So if I again select this three legal entities, and here you have this option update period status. This is used for mass update, means updating it for multiple legal entities at a time. So I click here again. I'll change it back to open and click on update. Right. It's like that. And if I select here this one, it will select all the legal entities at a time. See here, selection is for all, and I can change it for all at a time. On hold, click on update. So every for every legal entity, this period of January is kept on hold. And if I want to change again, select all the legal entities from this side here. Again, change the period status from on hold to open and click on update. Right. So if at all this calendar is assigned to or linked to only single legal entity, I'll see only single legal entity here. Like if USMF only, I don't see all these things again. These legal entities I can't won't show up. Only to which legal entities this calendar is attached to or linked to, those legal entities names only you will see here usually. So we have many for this calendar. So I just want to demonstrate you how it works, and so I have selected this calendar for demonstration. So any doubt until here, anyone?
So when might such a situation or occasion arise where we will be changing for all the legal entities? I mean, one calendar, like going for selecting toward more than two or three or something like that.
Suppose if we have legal entities all are located in a single country, suppose in India, everybody will follow this, every company will follow the same calendar period, right? From April 1st starting to March 31st will be the ending. So they'll if they want to follow the same pattern of months and all, so they'll create a single calendar and they'll link it to all the legal entities. Okay, no need to create separate calendars for each legal entity. Okay. Generally, if there are any differences in the periods or if they want to maintain separate calendar periods, then they can create. Suppose few legal entities are located in US and few are located in India. And for US legal entities, you can create a separate calendar from starting from January to December 31st. And for Indian, you can create another calendar, two calendars you can maintain. So for all the four legal entities in US, you can give that calendar. For the three legal entities in India, you can give the Indian calendar. Got it?
Yeah, thank you.
Hmm. So, so in the same way, it's only for January period. How can we link a calendar to entity? We will get to that concept, okay? I'll show you how to do that. Without doing that, we don't proceed further actually. We'll do some early setups and we'll link all of them at a time. The currencies, the calendars, chart of accounts, or accounts, everything. Okay, right. And in the same manner, you can close any period or change the period status from open or on hold or permanently closed. If I just keep this on permanently closed here, it will ask me this one. A permanently closed period cannot be reopened, and now transactions cannot be posted, and new transactions cannot be posted. Are you are you sure you want to permanently close period 2? So it will give you a second question to choose. So I will choose no. So I can change it back to open. Okay. If I choose if I choose yes, it will change to permanently closed and I can't reopen it again. So as I explained you the concept, so it's used to control the period status, and the second one is to control the access of users for different modules. So now here this period is set to open. Period number 1 is set to open for USMF, and I have different module names here. As you can see, ledger, sales tax, bank, customers, vendor, sales order, purchasing, inventory, and not module names actually. These are I mean, these are module names as well as the activities that are done in those modules. So customer module, vendor module means accounts receivable, accounts payable and all. So sales order processing, purchasing, purchase order processing and invoicing, inventory related production module and project. So what does this indicates is for this particular period, January 1st to December, I mean March, January 1st to 31st of January, which is open for USMF legal entity here, where the status is open. The access is for all the users, or the access is given for all the users. Again, the user permissions that are given to the users individually will override this access. But here, as indicated, this all the users can post the transactions or open this, open or access those particular pages. So general ledger can be accessed by all the users. I mean the activities in general ledger. Sales tax module can be accessed by all the users. Bank can be accessed by all the users, customer, all the users. So other than this all, if I drop it down, I can see some user groups here. User groups can be created. User groups means if there were 20 employees in the 20 users that were created in ERP, you can group four of them as a, I mean, you can group four of them as approvers, or you can group four of them as test group or any other group name you can give. So according to the location, you can give the group name. According to the legal entity, you can give the group name, or according to the role they are in, you can give a group name and keep all the users in that group. So firstly, we'll create users, then we'll group the users. Suppose we have 20 employees, so we'll group each four of them as a group, or depending upon their role or depending upon the company's need, they will define the user groups. So where these user groups are configured is it is in organization administration. I'll show you here. Actually, in organization administration, we have this concept. Sorry, not in organization administration. Pardon me. It's system administration. We have this users and user groups option. So system administration is here. Okay. So if I click on users, I can see the list of users that are created in this organization. So these are all the user names. So JP, admin, April, Charlie, Daniel, Emmanuel. So all of them are the users here in this system. So each user will have a user role. So here you see the user role. So user role is test essentials role for this guy. For this person admin, with which credentials I have logged in actually. So this one AXT360 Amirpet 16 Outlook. So I logged in with that credentials only. So I am now with admin role here. So if I open here, I can see system administrator role for this. Okay, do not change these roles. Okay, if you log in with this and if you change the system administration role here or delete something, you cannot again add it back because nobody else will have access to your version that you have in your system. See, normally in business there may be few people who is having admin roles and they can add you back once again, but here in system you only have the access, right? So no one can give the admin role once again to you, so don't change any roles and roles here. So in this way you have users created and roles assigned. So if there are 4 users for accounts payable module, they will be given with accounts payable clerk role. So if I go here, go into the user, the created user, generally users will be created by clicking on you and all. You can try it actually. So there will be roles here. If you click on assign roles here, you can see the roles list. For each module, you will have separate roles. It will take a second to load, so you can see here accounting supervisor role, accounts payable clerk role, accounts payable manager role, accounts payable payments clerk role. So who usually manages only the payments in accounts payable. Accounts payable clerk does normal invoicing transactions or any other service oriented or expense transactions. They'll accounts payable manager will have complete access to the accounts payable module. What all that can be done in accounts payable, he can access and look into the activities. The same way, accounts receivable clerks for budgeting, for cost accounting, for fixed asset management. So for everything, you will have user roles. Once you give a role to that user, suppose if I give accounts receivable clerk to the user, he can only access accounts receivable, and in also accounts receivable, he can't change any master data. He can only post some transactional data or create any journals or post them. That's all. he can't open any other modules, or whenever he click here on modules, he don't see all these modules also. He can only see accounts receivable or some other modules related to accounts receivable like sales and marketing and credit and collections like that. That's all. So everything is in control with users and user permissions here. And then users can be grouped as user groups, that is seen here in system administration again, just under users. If I click on user groups, I can see some groups that are created. Here I can create another group, like usually I'll just create it as MRF, MRF user group. So in MRF user group, I can add users by clicking here. So there are no users yet. And the users that you want to add, you can select from this side. So this one, I will select this, or I can select multiple of them at a time here. So this is how the selection works. So all these four are now grouped into the MRF group. So MRF group, you have four users. So these are the complete list of users you have, and you can select only four users for that group. That's all. So this movement helps. So if I want to deselect this, you can click here and it will be moved from this side to the other side. So only three are there now. This is where you can create user groups. So why I'm explaining this concept is because in ledger calendars here you can select the user groups that controls or that have access for these modules. Suppose I want to give access only to MRF group. So there are only three people, only these three people will have access further. So what I'll say is I'll come to ledger calendar here. For general ledger module, only that three people should have access. That's my agenda. So I'll change this from all users to MRF that I have created here. You can see the group MRF group. So once we have created it, it will reflect here. I can select that group and I can select yes. So only enough those three users will have access to any activities in ledger general ledger module. So others cannot post any transactions or do anything because they don't have any permissions or access. So that's how I can give access to my users or group my users accordingly, according to the module or according to the role or according to the company, anything I can group them and I can change the access or I can permit the accesses or I can stop the accesses in that manner. For bank module also I can give it for MRF again. So like this. And then I can change it back to all users again if I want to. Same way if I want to. So the two things that ledger calendars allows you to do is one is to keep the change the period status. The second one is to give the access or user permissions for each module and for each period again. So this is only for one period. For January period only. If I change it, these three the people will have access. Again, for going for February period, everybody will have access. So it's for period to period again. Only for January dates, I can change it here. Only for one legal entity again here. So if I want to change it for all the legal entities at a time, so for all this ledger module for these three or four legal entities that I select here, so I can click this one, update module access. So there it asks me which module you want. So there are a lot of modules, right? Ledger, bank, customer, vendor. So I'll select ledger module here, select, and here I can select the group to all of them or to few of them. I mean, I can select my MRF group that I have created, select it and update. So see here for all these four legal entities for January period for ledger module, only MRF users will have access. The three people in this MRF group will have access. The others who are login with other credentials will not have access. So if you log in with these three user credentials, then only you will have access or permissions. So I can select once again. So all these four. To change it back, I can click on update module access, select the module once again, ledger, select it, select the access level to all users, select it, update. Right. There is also an option called as none, which means every user will be restricted. Generally, if you keep it on hold also, everyone will be restricted. And if you keep it as none also, every user will be restricted. But it's only for one module, you know. If you keep on hold means it's for all modules again. It will be applicable to all modules and all activities in ERP or in Dynamics. So if it is for individual modules, I can control it from here for all users or for no users. So these are the two major concepts or major features that are there in ledger calendars. Updating the period status or updating a module access. Let me walk you through the issues with this, or the kind of situations that you where you particularly use this ledger calendars or go through this ledger calendars. Generally in month-end process, once after, as I told you, the reconciliations and month-end closures, they'll ask the consultant to keep one period on hold. Suppose for the first period January, accounts are done and the books are almost cleared, everything is clear. So they want to close that. I mean, they want to hold that, keep that period on hold, such that no other adjustments or other users will post any transactions. So they'll come here and keep it on hold in business times. Sometimes what happens is they'll forget that they kept this period on hold and they'll try to post any transaction for the previous month. Or some of the users who is not having permission for one of the module will try to post any transaction in that particular module, and system will say that there is no user access or user permission to post such a transaction. Or it will guide you through the an error, with an error message saying the period status is on hold and you cannot post any transactions when the status is on hold. Then what you will understand that period is kept on hold. You will come back, you will change the period from on hold to open, and you will be able to post the transaction. And again, after that, if they want to keep it on hold, you will come back again and change the period status from open to on hold. So usually users don't have any knowledge. If they get that error message that period status is on hold, they don't know. They might not know what is a ledger calendar, what are the different options in ledger calendar. They only know how to use the accounts payable module, create a purchase order, post an invoice. So they only know these 2-3 steps and process. So they might be confused when they have this kind of error message, and they'll come to you or come reach out to the consultant so that I am facing this error message when I am doing some action. Can you please review and get rid of this? Let me get rid of this error. So you have to do this action. That's all. So in support, usually you'll get these kind of issues. Users might face in regular business, they might face issues regarding these permissions and all. So you can recheck it from here. So this is all with ledger calendar. So remember this theoretical concept, and when somebody asks you in interview, just explain them. This is why the ledger calendar is used. And for our MRF calendars, so we did not have ledger calendar. So once we link it to a legal entity, I can see the legal entity name here and the other period details. Normally the module details to all the users, or first it default it will give it to all users permission. Then you can change it if you want. So, and one more thing I forgot to tell you. I'll go back to the fiscal calendar to tell you that. So I'll change it back to fiscal calendar. So you see this period 0 opening period. This opening period will always have the status of permanently closed only. Okay. By default, it will have the status of permanently closed. So there is nothing to change in this opening period. So opening periods are generally always in permanently closed status. So I told you these are only used for process of transferring balances from previous fiscal year to the next fiscal year or this fiscal year. So for the year-end closure process, the opening balances will be transferred to the opening periods. Although it is permanently closed, opening balances will definitely get transferred. Don't worry about that. And remember this point. So the opening period will always be in permanently closed status. For the operating periods, it is a maintainable field. You can change the period status as you wish. And for closing period also, you can change it. So it's also available. It's the same like the operating period. You have the period to be opened or closed or anything. Open, on hold, and permanently closed. So keep this in mind. Do not permanently close any period anytime. So this might lead you to lose your job also sometimes. So always guide your fellow consultants as well as the users, whoever have this access, tell them do not keep this, any period or change anything to permanently closed. Okay, in your demo versions you can do it, but usually in business where everything is configured and business is running smoothly, if you do such an action and suddenly the business stops for a day or like until the technical consultant develops code or override it, sometimes it may not be possible even. So they have to change the calendar once again. So there is a possibility easily to you can change the calendar. I'll tell you how to do that later. But again, so don't do that first in the first place.